Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the e-commerce lab by Ecomcy, the place of everything related to Amazon FBA, private label, and e-commerce. My name is Vincenzo Toscano, founder and CEO of Ecomcy, and today we bring another special guest. His name is James Dihardjo, and he's the co-founder and of Merchant Spring, and which is actually an amazing tool. It's actually a tool that allows you to integrate multiple marketplaces in the same place, so you can bring to a marketplace from Amazon, Shopify. Those are things that we're gonna for sure be discussing today. And he's actually also the host of a podcast that you guys should be checking out, which is Marketplace Masters, where he bring amazing people in the space to help you around Amazon e-commerce in general. So check it out. um but now to start summarizing what we're going to be talking today, today's topic is going to be how to effectively manage multiple accounts in terms of Amazon, multiple regions. And he's also going to be explaining how we can use Merchant Spring for that. So I think that was a bit too long. Let me now introduce you, James. How you doing today? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, thank you, Vincenzo. It is very late here, but yeah, very happy to be here.
It's
If you
a
want to,
play.
if you want, if you want me to give me a brief introduction, you want me to give you a brief introduction.
Sure, yeah. Let people
Uh,
know where you come from, how you jump into e-commerce, everything, if you can.
yeah, I'll try and sum it up as quickly as I can. So I think, we're based in Australia, in Melbourne, which is really, really far away from the rest of the world. But I got involved in e-commerce because I during like university, I worked for a very large e-commerce business here, which was actually like an eBay seller. Then they graduated to like having their own website,
Hmm.
and now they're like the biggest marketplace in Australia, which is
Wow.
quite a funny journey. But throughout that journey, we had to interact with other sellers, with tools, with Amazon, with eBay, with a whole lot of things. Long story short, um, you know, we identified, myself and another colleague actually identified the struggles that
Yeah.
sellers had. That at least through our interaction with suppliers and this and that, and that's kind of how we landed in Merchant Spring. Like we ended up taking the struggles that these sellers said they had. Oh, they're like, I have two eBay accounts, I got an Amazon
Yeah.
account. How do I actually see all this crap, in one place? And
Yeah, it's
and
crazy.
really, and we actually took that one very detailed problem and kind of really turned that into Merchant Spring. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing tool. I actually I've played with it. I love how the dashboard looks. I love all the metric that it gives. I think it's nowadays is super important to have a tool like this in your arsenal, because the days of just controlling your basic spends like FBA fees and PPC are over. Now you need to think so many other things outside the box, especially if you also have multiple channels. So I think it would be great if we can start now by giving just a brief introduction about what are some of the main features of the tool, and why you think it's very important to for people to understand that having all this on the same dashboard is key to ensure you can manage basically your Amazon efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think the main feature of the tool is the fact that you can connect as many channels as you like. Like, I
Yeah.
think the heaviest users of our platform are typically agencies, whether that's Amazon
Yeah.
agencies or
Yeah.
multi-channel agencies. They go away and they connect hundreds of hundreds of marketplaces to their
Yeah, man.
account. And I think the key feature in addition to that is the fact that it can be white labeled, right? So key thing for bigger, more corporate brands or agencies or
Yeah.
aggregators is, we'll white label the platform for them. So it gives this really slick kind of feeling. Um, but the thing is, I think the one thing that applies to everybody is that, whether that's brands, private label sellers, whatever, is that you can connect like a diverse range of channels. So I'll use an example, like one of our kind of most heavy brand users. Like they're a brand, they're based out of Korea, but they are like an Amazon. Their brand they built on Amazon.
Yeah.
So they sell, on Amazon, US, UK, Australia, Sweden, Poland, Germany, Italy.
Wow.
The list, yeah, Amazon
War
Japan as well.
domination.
Yeah. But the fact is they can see them all in one place, right? That's a
Yeah.
major game changer for them. And they can quickly see, what was my performance last 4 days, on all the Amazons all at once, and then they can see the profit by ASIN. They can see they can get really granular, or they can go kind of high level. It's I think that is a major feature that sounds really simple, but actually,
Yeah.
like, brands, agencies, everybody has that same problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's super key. I think, I mean, because I also have an agency and I used to come from an Amazon selling background. When you have multiple channels, is you waste so much time jumping around different marketplaces, needing to log in, download the reports, try to make some kind of graph that I know that in most of the time you end up doing it wrong to try to understand what is going on all the marketplaces. But I think the power of now having all this on the same page is amazing. And I like the fact that you also mentioned the white level opportunity. I bet there are so many agencies right now and service providers out there that they just say, "Oh, this is my software," and they're taking so much pride on the power of it. But yeah, guys, I mean, you guys are doing an amazing job. Now, I think just to start transitioning into today's topic, understanding how we can use this to basically efficiently manage multiple Amazon accounts. I think my first question would be for everybody listening at this is what is usually the avatar of the sellers that you see jumping into this tool? Because I also understand that maybe for a seller that just have one product and sell just in, let's say, one marketplace, it might be not the perfect fit for them. So usually, based on your experience, where do you think they can take the most use of the tool and really see a huge impact in their business? Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think the seller has to be fairly matured. Like, I wouldn't say that the brands that use our product are just getting started.
Yeah.
Like, some of them may just sell on Amazon US. Like, that's quite common, but they might have 10 to 12
Yeah.
products.
Correct.
So at least it makes sense then that they're getting efficiency out of, like, the profit calculation, or the store profit, or they're getting efficiency out of running fairly large reports for 12 products. It's a fairly complicated report that you'd have to run out of Seller Central. But I would say that as a minimum. But I mean, going one step higher, it's kind of those that may have not reached a ceiling, but they're pretty sophisticated in their home country, and they may have a Amazon UK, Germany, and I don't know, US. Like, I see a lot of brands that they'll have quite a few Amazons. They may not be at full maximum sales potential in those channels, but they'll have a few on the go. And I would describe them as, they're probably not investment backed, but I would say
Yes.
that they are pretty serious. Like, that is their job. It's not a side hustle.
Mm,
It is maybe a multi-person business.
for sure.
So yeah, it's that level of
That's
maturity.
great.
But I would say that the avatar, that's the avatar of a seller. But I think there's maybe two other avatars that would
Hmm.
use our product as well, which I touched on earlier: the
Yeah.
agency and the aggregator. So
Yeah, I think especially now you have seen a lot of aggregators jump into your tool for sure. I'm very sure you have seen what is going on in the space. A lot of them having some struggle managing so many brands, so many channels. So I think you guys just became the parachute of some of them to have everything more clear, bring all that amount of data. I mean, you need to understand some of these aggregators have over 50, 100 brands. Imagine multiplying each of those brands by 10 channels
mm.
is suicide, right? So, can, can you briefly, maybe if you can, of course, share how have you seen also merchants being helping some of these aggregators really support this journey of handling so many brands at the same time? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think the thing where we've supported is the fact that when aggregators buy brands, it's not just an Amazon. Like, typically it'll come with an Amazon, with a Shopify, maybe even a Walmart as well. Like, that's quite common in the US. So our platform, as lets them connect all of those channels. So I think for them it's like a matter of do you want to drive a car with a blindfold on, or do you want to kind of see
Yeah.
everything as you're driving? So it's very, like, I know it sounds simple, but it is very hard to see an Amazon directly next to a Shopify, directly next to a Walmart. I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's
It's
hard in
difficult.
reality.
It's
Yeah, and I
difficult.
think with our product is like you log in and boom, it's there. Like it's providing them, headlights, if you know what I mean. For if
Yeah.
you put a car analogy over it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's not just the data, because I think a very important point to bring to the table as well is that you guys just don't display the data. I remember when using the tool, you guys also provide alerts. In some instances, you also basically notify the customer performance metric and actions, basically actions they can take to solve that issue. So can you also briefly touch on maybe how the merchant sprint tool, besides just analyzing the data, at the same time use that data somehow in the back end for sure, and allows you to tell you this is going wrong, there is some fire
Mm.
here. So yeah, can you briefly touch on that as well, which I think is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pick the funniest one. There's actually this agency in Arizona called More Amazon. The guy's called Aaron Moore.
Yeah.
Anyway, his favorite notification is the suppressed listing notification. So
Yeah, for
so
sure.
what our tool does is it says, like, hey, you've got you've got 3 listings suppressed, and then it's like, why, why are they
Why?
suppressed? And it'll be like, image has got, I don't know, some
Yeah,
issue with
any
it, or
image. Yeah.
some copywriting word is bad. So this guy Aaron Moore, like, he swears by this notification because he's an agency, so he's got a lot of accounts. So for him, the notification is like not only saving him the pain of having to check, it's kind of like he can just go away and be
Yeah.
like, oh, this is an issue. So I mean, that's
Yeah.
one example, but it's probably the best example.
Yeah, I mean that's super powerful because I mean most of the agencies, including myself, sometimes when we don't have a tool like this, what we need to do is go inside each single account and see if there is some kind of the typical red flag on the account, something's wrong, some notification. But now, basically, as you say, you can be traveling, you just log in on your merchant spring, and you can just as an email, just see what is going on instead of wasting, which most of our time we waste hours going inside each single account and finding which is going wrong, which is great. Good. Now, when it comes to the data, uh, this data for sure comes through an API, right? It comes from an API that gets integrated into your Amazon sort of central account. So right now, what kind of data can you get? So I know you can get, for example, all your sales, fees, inventory. So um, what is right now the data that you can handle, and what is the data that maybe at the moment you're not fitting in, but you see potential that can really help sellers in the future?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I think so we use the SP API. So
Yeah.
Amazon's actually decommissioning the MWS stuff pretty
Yeah.
soon. So we're
Mm-hmm.
using SP API. Anyway, long story is, what's really interesting is we pull through a lot of financial data, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but the API actually shows like 97 lines of different fees and
It's
incomes,
crazy.
right?
It's
I
crazy.
was I was just talking to an agency the other day. He's like, show me the logic. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, no, show me. I'm like, okay, I'll show you. And I sent him like 97 lines of income and expenses. He's like, 97? I thought there was only like, 7.
FBA and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like behind that is just insane. And I think, when people use that tool, they're like starting to click in their mind, like all the different charges and net offs and debits and credits here. Like, I think it really opens their eyes to what the real profitability is. I think that's really interesting, and that really helps sellers think, and agencies think much more sharply about how do you approach like pricing your product. Like, it's not a joke anymore when you're looking at 97 lines of potential income and expenses. Um, and I think just more broad and like bigger picture. So Amazon's just released brand analytics via
Hmm.
API, like
Yeah.
literally last month. So
That's
we're
amazing.
we're we're bringing in, like, all this crazy, everything from traffic to, mobile share, glance views,
Wow,
all
that's
this
great.
stuff. And I think the game changer is they've not only brought that through for Seller Central, but it's also available for Vendor Central. So you can now see things via API like, you know,
Mm,
these are your product sales, but by the way, these are the sales that Amazon is giving to someone else, not even ordering from you. You can get all of that via
wow,
API.
that's
So
so
it's
powerful.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I think you and I having this conversation next month will be very different.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think Amazon for sure is evolving very fast, and it would be, yeah, very curious to see what is gonna happen on that perspective for sure. Now also for my listeners and everybody that is watching this episode, I think now that just going a little bit back when we were talking about the notifications and the advice that the tool provides you, at the moment, let's say if something's going wrong, let's say for a listing, uh, can you take the action from within the software, or is that something you guys are looking to develop in more down the line, so you can keep basically Merchant Spring can become your whole Amazon Seller Central account and you don't even touch Amazon? Is that something you guys see in the future, or it's already happening? So if you can touch on that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so we pride ourselves on our platform being non-opinionated, which means we just provide the data in a nice,
Okay.
sexy way, but we don't have an opinion. We try not to have an opinion. It's up to the user to make its interpretation. The second thing is we consider ourselves a non-interference tool.
Hmm,
So that
okay.
means when we're not a workspace, you don't do work in Merchant Spring, like, because we understand that people have a preference for their advertising tool or they have a preference for their content tool, and that's cool. We love to work with various other tools, and I think that helps us with our partnership activity. The fact
That's
that we
great.
don't we don't interfere with people's preferences for whatever it is that they're doing. We're just providing the numbers really easily, if that makes sense.
That's great. So based on that perspective, now that you mentioned partnership, is then possible down the line that Merchant Spring will be integrating with some other partners in the space where you could do some of the specific tasks, or you mean more partnerships at the level of maybe just sharing the data and using that inside your API to create some kind of a presentation, a data representation for the client in that
Yeah,
perspective?
so we've already got partnerships where, with other software providers where, they'll do one thing really well, and then we'll give part of our software inside their software for their
Mm,
clients to use. And their clients won't even know that it's Merchant Spring. They just feel
wow,
like it's
I
like
see.
a reporting thing. So we're already doing those things actually already. And that really crosses, e-commerce education, listing into kind of product feeds, accounting, it pretty much all goes on. But yeah, we're already doing that. And I think because we're non-interference, we don't interfere with anything, enables us to kind of be that really good, visualization and data partner, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, total sense. That's great. I think another thing that I love about the tool as well is that I feel that most people might think, or maybe I'm mistaken, that the merchant screen is more at the level of the expenses and the data and performance. But I also discovered that you guys have the PPC side of it, and you guys also are very detailed when it comes to explaining what's happening at the expenses level. I think also keywords and campaign, if I'm not mistaken. So can you also briefly touch on how if this how you see basically this PPC tool evolving in the future, and basically what are some of the main features that you think are definitely very important when it comes to understanding your advertising and then taking actions outside of the platform? Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I make no representation that I'm a PPC expert. In fact, I know very little about it. But what I do know is that, we do provide all of the metrics we possibly can, and we
Yeah.
calculate some metrics that perhaps Amazon doesn't provide. For example, like TROAS,
Mm,
TACOS.
that's
We
big.
do
Yeah.
that as well at an ASIN level, which is actually quite strange, I suppose. But yeah, we're providing them the metrics, and I think where we see this going is kind of providing as much, I guess, not harvesting, but insight in terms of how do you get as much data as possible at your fingertips? Like you're familiar with our tool. You can go straight into our tool and just look at ignore everything else, but just look at keywords across the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
entire, like literally every single thing. Like, if you just want to look at keywords, like that's a very strange thing to do. But it's what we're doing is we're saying, we're still providing the data easily to the user if that's what they want, right? So
yeah.
we see it evolving in how do you make it even easier to get the data that's valuable to you, not valuable to me, but valuable to the agency or the seller.
That's great.
So yeah, that's
Yeah,
where we're going.
good. I mean, James, yeah, I think to be honest, the tool has everything that an agency, a seller, especially aggregator can dream of in terms of handling Amazon business. So I think my last question of the day, so we can start concluding today's episode, would be if you think there's anything else you want to highlight around the tool itself, or just a tip in general when it comes to managing multiple Amazon accounts in different regions. So, the audience can get a last uh, gold nugget, as we call it, from you when it comes to this topic. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think the most fresh topic in my mind is agencies, right? So when I look at all the agencies around the world, I think a lot of them aren't using customer facing technology, so client facing technology. I would
Mm-hmm.
really encourage them, and not just for my sake, but really encourage all agencies out there to find technology that will allow you to interact with your customer, in a self-service way, right? Like take that burden off yourself from having calls, Zoom calls, preparing decks or whatever. Just find some technology, whether it's mine or someone else's, it doesn't matter, but just kind
Yeah.
of think about making your life easier and kind of elevate yourself into the technology space, right? Because you guys as agencies have so much expertise, but how do you kind of show your clients you're doing such a good job without having to spend your day telling them that? You know what I mean? So that's the thing on top of my mind, man. That
Yeah.
I encourage all agencies to look at.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just to add on top of that, I think that's where you could eventually also plug Merchant Spring, because you could eventually just because as you were explaining, sometimes it's difficult to explain to the customer what you're doing and give them a glimpse of performance and everything. So now having a tool such as this, you could eventually just create them a dashboard and a portal that they didn't have before, and you can definitely add so much extra value, which is, I mean, it's beneficial for both sides, right? So I think that's amazing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great, James. So I think, please let us know how people can find you if they want to reach out to you to speak out around the tool or around anything in life in general. And yes, feel free for sure also mention if there's any kind of promotion going on. Yeah, anything that you want to share right now before we finish?
Yeah. So just hit me up on LinkedIn. My phone is on loud all the time. My cell phone, my emails, all there. Like as you know, Vincenzo, I reply to everything whenever I
Yeah,
can.
you're amazing. Yeah.
I would say that in terms of the offers, we do have, I don't know them off the top of my head, but we have like startup packages, which
Okay.
basically supports new agencies or new sellers or new whoever
Yeah,
you are, with basically a cheaper plan, to be honest.
that's great.
Those
Yeah.
starting out, but whoever it is, new aggregators, new sellers,
Yeah,
whatever.
anything.
Yeah, anything.
You're all
Yeah,
welcome. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I add all that into the description so people can find it very easy. Okay. So yeah, James, that's everything for today. Thank you once again for coming on. I know it's very late for you in your part of the world, so thank you. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing the next one so we can keep talking about your amazing tool. Yeah,
Thanks, Vicente. Appreciate it.
it's a pleasure. Bye bye.